For this lesson, let's take a break from all the hard work we're doing. We made an HTML5 CSS formatted page. We are ready to start working with images. Let's talk a little bit about organization. I know we've talked about it before. Let's talk about it again. In the last two lessons before this one, I rearranged the furniture a little bit on what I saw. I am currently in the default workspace. So let's talk about that first. When I'm working with HTML5, I want my insert panel, I want my assets, I want a couple of things. I don't need a lot of other things. For example, I don't need the DOM down here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to select here and say close. Easy. Now it gives me more room, doesn't it? I don't need snippets. I like those. I work with them, but I don't need them when I'm working this way. So I'm going to come over here and close them out. Now I like files, insert, assets, and CSS Designer. So I'm happy with that. But I like my insert panel in a different place so I can access it at the same time I'm doing other things. So I grab insert and pull it out, and I pull it up here. Wait for the blue line. I can come up to the word window and open up all kinds of things we haven't even talked about yet. I can put them at the top, on the left, on the right, on the bottom. I can put them anywhere that I want. Workspace control gives you organization, helps you work faster. Now I like what I've got. If I go back up to the word default right now, I can go to reset default and everything goes back the way it is. And if I want what I've got to put it together again. I want to save what I have. I'm going to go up to the word window on the pull down menu and go down to workspace layout and select new workspace. How about CSS design? Well, call it anything you want. Click OK. So now, if I go back up to CSS design, I can reset that. But if I go into, say, for example, default, and I reset default, if I want to go back into CSS design, all I have to do is click on it. Don't forget you got workspaces. Now, there's one other thing I want to talk about. We are in the Lighthouse's site. I want to talk about assets. Let me actually drag that out here so we can see that and devote ourselves just to this one area. Let me go ahead and drag it out this way. Now, what we have in assets, now I'm looking at this tab right up here, and that's just images. You have different areas you can go into. Now, we have a few things. Sites typically can have hundreds of things in terms of images. We have some lighthouses, we have some backgrounds, we have different things. Now, assume that that list composes hundreds of things. We can see dimensions, and we can organize them by clicking these, by dimensions, size, type, path, or go back to name. So you can do that. That's nice. But if you've got hundreds of items, things can get a little bit confusing. Where is the thing I'm looking for? Oh my goodness, what was it? I named it. And you can forget. It's no big deal. I forget all the time. You have what is called favorites up here. Now, favorites, if I click, you'll notice nothing is in favorites because, well, I don't have anything yet. Let's go back to site. Let's say that I want to create a folder out of the hundreds of images that I have that just is a folder for my backgrounds and maybe just a folder for my lighthouses. Now, in site, you can't do that because we are organizing things according to images. Now, I can do that if I go to files, but that's a different area. I want it over here. So let's say, for example, I select all of my lighthouses, which is from here to here, and I just did a shift click to do that. And I have down here a button that allows me to add them to favorites. So they are now in my favorites. And it tells me, hey, you just added those to your favorites. If you don't want to see that again, you can say, don't show me. I'm going to click OK. And I also say, for example, want to go into and add all my backgrounds to favorites. And again, you don't have to leave that on. The reason I do leave it on, let me explain that, is I want you to see everything that you're going to see when you open up Dreamweaver. And so I, in my own personal experience, turn that off because I know where they're going. But I'm going to leave that on so we see everything as we work. Click OK. Go back to favorites and they'll be there. Now, the thing we can do in favorites, there's actually two things. But one of the things is I can click and create folders. So if I come over here and click on Untitled, we can call that one Backgrounds. Why not? I will select all of my backgrounds and drag them into that folder. We can collapse it or expand it. Now we can do the same thing, and we can call this one Lighthouses. Select all the lighthouses and drag them kicking and screaming into lighthouses. And we're beginning to organize. Now there's something else you can do if you want to. You can give these files nicknames. Now what's a nickname? Well, we have Bodie Island and we have the actual names, but what if they were just Lighthouse 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? And I've done that before. And you say, well, I'd really want the names, but I don't want to change the name of the actual file. I want to change it here. So we go in here and we actually click on these and we can actually change the name here. So instead of it saying Lighthouse 1, it would say Bodie Island. And you go, cool, that's exactly what it is. But it doesn't change it if we go back to images. It would still say, well, Lighthouse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it wouldn't change it as a file name. It only changes it in favorites. Anytime we want to, we can delete them out of favorites. I use favorites when I'm working on a particular portion of a website. And out of the hundreds of images that I need to work with, there are only a few of them I need for that particular page, and I'll dump them into favorites. Sometimes I will give them nicknames, although I will admit I don't use that feature very often. But it gives me the ability when I click on favorites up here to isolate the images that I'm working with, and it makes me more efficient. So it makes sense. So assets are a wonderful thing to have. Favorites is a great way to organize those images, and fixing or putting together workspaces that help you become more efficient just make this program all the much better. Tell you what, let me go ahead and move assets, drag it right back up here, and let's go ahead and move on.